What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Trent here. Today is Wednesday, July 9th, which means today is New Comic Book Day. In today's video, I'm going to be going over everything that I picked up at my local comic book shop today, what I'm reading, and what I'm excited about. If you guys end up enjoying this video, please leave a like down below and subscribe. Right now, we're on the road to 50 subscribers, and your subscription would mean the world to me. Before I get into all the new comics that came out this week, I always like to highlight my favorite comic from last week's pickup. And so this week's highlight is Godzilla vs. Thor by Jason Aaron and art by Aaron Kuder. This was a big surprise for me. Going into last week, I really thought Captain America #1 by Chip Zdarsky was going to be my highlight. It's still a really good book. You should definitely still check out Captain America #1. But this, for me, took the top spot because the past couple iterations of this, the Godzilla versus Avengers, Godzilla versus Fantastic Four versus X-Men, were kind of hit or miss, a lot of misses. And because I'm a completionist, I wanted to check out Godzilla versus Thor. And this was the best issue that they've made so far since the very first one with Godzilla versus Hulk. Jason Aaron brings in a lot of different mythos from the comic book world. We have the Hand is in here. We have Thor coming in and, going face to face against a resurrected Godzilla. You have these crazy feats of strength that both Godzilla and Thor are going through, and this epic battle that spans the cosmos, which was so cool. When I finished reading this book, I literally texted my brother and I told him, "You have to check this out." He also really enjoyed it. He's a big Godzilla fan. I'm hoping that going forward, the next, I think Godzilla Destroys the Marvel Universe, I hope that is on the same level of this, because this was really a treat for me to read. That was it for last week's highlight. Now we're getting into the new books that I picked up this week. So this time around, things are a little different because I actually had the chance to read all of these books before making this video, because there's not a lot of books this week. I'm trying to keep my pull list as light as possible. I'm balling on a budget, so I was able to read all these books so I can talk a little bit about each of these books and my thoughts on them, trying not to get into spoilers. All right, so the first book that I read this week and picked up was Predator, Black, White, and Blood written by Joe Kelly and art by Alvaro Lopez. For the most part, I did enjoy this comic. I didn't expect it to be three separate stories, and I think going forward it's going to be an anthology where there's going to be these three stories told over different eras. It kind of reminds me of the recently released Predator movie, Predator Killer of Killers on Hulu, which is really good. If you're a Predator fan, you should definitely check that out. This is kind of like in that same vein. It's predators across different eras interacting with people in different time periods. I'd say it's off to a pretty solid start. It took me a bit, I had to read it twice to really get into the story. The art is really fantastic. They don't hold back on a lot of the violence in this, which, it's a Predator franchise. You kind of need that. I'm hoping by issue 2 things pick up a little bit, but I thought this was a pretty okay start story-wise. All right, next up, I picked up and read Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion issue 2, written by Denise Camp and Cody Ziegler, and art by Jonas Scharf. This issue is a departure from our first issue, where the first issue was more about Miles interacting with the Ultimate Universe Peter Parker. This one is more so his interactions with the Wasp and Ant-Man, and as well as a run-in with T'Challa the Black Panther. And it seems as though they're setting it up where every issue is going to be him dealing with a different part of the Ultimate Universe. Right now, the story, I think, is pretty well done. A lot of it is told through the perspective of Ant-Man. We get to learn a little bit more about Ant-Man and Janet. And it's just cool to see the Ultimate Universe from this third-party perspective through the eyes of Miles. So this is pretty solid. I'm gonna keep reading this. I do enjoy this book so far. Next up, we have Star Wars Legacy of Vader, issue 6, written by Charles Soule and art by Luke Ross. It feels like a transition issue, not quite a filler. There's a bit of an adventure and a battle happening for a majority of this issue, and then once that wraps up, we're starting on this new mission that Kylo goes on to hunt down a Jedi and prove his worth and trying to carry on the legacy of Vader. I thought the battle was pretty cool that they showed in here. They kind of go more into the dynamic between him and General Hux, which I thought was interesting. This series, I'm really only following it because I'm a fan of the character. So I'm hoping that we get to see Kylo Ren get some justice done writing wise going forward. All right, now we are on to the next three. These three were my three favorite books that I read this week. This is no particular order, but starting off, we got Absolute Superman issue number 9, written by Jason Aaron and art by Rafa Sandoval. You know, this Absolute Superman is so good. Every issue just gets better and better and better. This issue, I think the standout part for me was how they're characterizing Superman in this. How he has all this anger inside of him from witnessing the destruction of his home planet. He refers to it as the murder of Krypton. And he has all this anger within himself, and he has nowhere to direct it. And he has all these different people in his life trying to tell him what to do when how he should use his power, and it frustrates him because he's his own man. He's a grown man now. He's not like a young boy being influenced by, you know, his adopted family. He's trying to make his own choices. I think it creates a very interesting take on this character. In this issue, we got some hints about the greater absolute universe of DC. There's some talk about like some of the other stuff going on in the Absolute Universe, which is very exciting. Maybe one day we'll get Absolute Justice League. That'll be really sick. Super excited to see where it's going forward from here after this issue's little cliffhanger. All right, next up we have Fantastic Four issue 1, written by Ryan North and art by Humberto Ramos. This was a great jumping on point. It's set within the One World Under Doom. There's like a little bit of a tie-in there. I thought it did a really good job characterizing each of the members, reintroducing you to all the members if you're not familiar with them. This issue really hooked me. I'm so looking forward to the next issue of this. You know, if they're able to solve this problem that they've been put in, I'm hooked after one issue. And I'm excited to see how they get themselves out of this predicament. All right, last but certainly not least, we got Transformers issue 22, written by Daniel Warren Johnson, art by Jorge Corona. After this, 3 more issues left with this creative team, so they're ramping up to this giant finale. This issue I thought was really great. They're trying to reestablish where everyone is, where all the factions are located, reminding us of the different motivations for every group going into this final encounter, this final battle. I'm super excited to see how it all goes down. They're putting all the pieces on the game board, you know. I'm super hyped for the series. This is one of my favorite series going on so far, and I'm super anxious to see how it all wraps up in a couple of months. All right, that brings me to the end of my pull list for this week. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this week's comic book haul. It means the world to me. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment down below. What did you guys pick up? What are you thinking about the current comic books coming out this week? Leave a subscription down below for more weekly comic book content, movie reviews, and TV show reviews. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys next week. Have a day.